Welcome to 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews, where we take random movies from Metacritic's 15K Plus movies to randomly watch, whether we like it or not. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews. This is Random Colin.
And this is Random Niall.
And this is random movie number 15145 from Metacritic's all-time movie list, and it's called My Baby's Daddy. It is from 2004. It runs for 86 long minutes.
Very long minutes.
Oh, yeah. It is scoring 23 out of 100 on Metascore. It is 4.6, which is quite high out of 10 for a user score. It had a budget of 12 million, and everything is wrong in the world is the result. It made a profit actually in the box office worldwide. It raked in 18.4 million. So people that were involved in making this pocketed a cool $6.4 million, and I question reality.
Yeah, but like in movie world, that's not a success. That's a bit of a failure. You want to be doing substantially more than doubling your money if you want to do well.
Yeah, it's well, let's hope they didn't pocket money. That would be their punishment for making this movie. So let's just do a little of a backstory here, or who is involved in it. So it's directed by Cheryl Dunn, who hasn't done too much of the.
She's done a few
movies.
TV movies. This is from what I could tell.
Yeah.
She's done some episodical stuff for like Bridgerton. Interestingly enough, she did an episode for the Umbrella Academy, which I quite enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, not the same standard here.
No, she also did a Why the Last Man episode as well, which was cancelled after one season, I believe.
Possibly because of the episode she made.
What I found interesting was, if you look at her Wikipedia, she's very much concerned with race and gender issues. And this movie has very bad examples of portraying race and gender. Yeah, and the writers were involved were Eddie Griffin, who is obviously the star, and he's best probably known for his stand-up comedy. And actually, today I watched a couple of the stand-up shows, and they're actually not too bad in contrast to the humor that's portrayed in this movie. His writing partners for this were Brent Goldberg and David Wagner, who wrote all the Van Wilder movies. So, you know.
That's the caliber you're looking at. But the thing is, I found Van Wilder substantially better. Not that I really enjoyed Van Wilder, but better than this by a long way.
Yeah, but there's like 3 or 4 Van Wilders out there too, so I'm sure they deteriorated with each movie.
So.
Yeah. So the producers involved were a couple of Motley Crue people as well. There's a guy called Happy Walters, who was the music supervisor for the first Fast and the Furious movie, which is a sort of a relevant connection this week with Fast and Furious 10 out. I've never watched any of them, and I never will.
Neither have I. I'm sure they're all brilliant.
Yeah. He was also producer for We're the Millers, which I remember as a sort of a middle-of-the-road comedy. Matt Williams is involved in this as a producer, and he's involved in one of my favorite documentary movies of all time, Jiro Dreams of Sushi. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
No. To be honest, never heard of it before.
Very good, very good.
Put it in my list. Hopefully, we get it. We get it for next week's.
No, it won't be up and down in the 15,000s. No, we won't get it because we'll get 15,001 or something. He also produced Rock of Ages, which earned a lot of money, 38 million or so in the box office. So, you know, a couple of people in the background there. Nobody too crazy apart from Matt Williams' producing of Jiro Dreams of Sushi. So let's get on to the plot of this one. So I found it hard to watch this movie. I'm going to say that up front. I thought it was very contrived, very badly constructed. The humor was just off-center constantly. And
the dialogue is forced, stiff, unnatural, and again awkward. It's
Yeah,
just hard to
it's
watch because of that.
yeah, it's interesting. So it's weird. It's all about three characters, the three main characters: Lonnie, Dom, and G, who are played by Eddie Griffin, Anthony Anderson, and Michael Imperioli. We'll get into their acting later and what their their background and how their performances in this movie. Anyway, the movie starts off with an animation of all things, trying to be creative, trying to be innovative. With a narration by Anthony Anderson. It's not very good. They're basically childhood friends. They grew up together. They live in the same house, and it's never really determined how old they are. Probably late 20s, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what's portrayed, but I think that the lads are in their 30s who are doing the acting. But
Most likely.
yeah, probably. Like, I don't get how that's the failure to launch type characters because they're only in their 20s. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me because they were 8 years there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they couldn't be that old, or so I don't see how that's even funny. That three
No,
lads
it's
who are in
yeah,
their 20s are still unmarried without children. That's not a joke. That's just something.
yeah, yeah. So G works in his girlfriend's convenience store. Lonnie is just floats around, but he's portrayed by Eddie Griffin as this sort of nerdy character, but never really to the full extent that it's humorous. So he's like a basketball coach at the start, sanitation. He talks about working in a pizzeria.
Yeah,
Dom, the producer, he's a music producer. And he's involved in this group called the Brothers Styles, and that kind of runs through the movie a little bit.
yeah. What
Yeah,
I hated
what did
about
you?
Lonnie was his character arc makes no sense. So he starts off, as you say, as a nerd, complete nerd.
Yeah,
Then he pimps up for one of the scenes with full confidence, and then he goes back to
yeah.
himself. But then at the end, he's not a nerd at all, and he's not the same character. So what's
Now
going
he
on there?
invents something. Yeah, he
Yeah,
invents the hydraulic baby bed because they went into their Cadillac bouncy thing and they all went to sleep with their
the
babies at
low
some point.
rider. Yeah,
The low rider, that's it. I'm not hip enough to know what that's called. Anyway, back to the start. They're all having this house party, and they all have their sort of girlfriends there. And what do you know? It's the next day. All their girlfriends. Well, it's portrayed as the next day. All the girlfriends go, "I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant." Goes really fast from then on. It goes into a birthing class with Amy Sedaris as the birthing mommy teacher, which
famous for
if
being in the
any
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian as what's her name in that Peli Motto in
That's
the
the one.
Mandalorian. Yeah, does a good job there. If it was any other movie, she'd actually be doing a good job because she pretty much overhams it where nobody else is overhamming anything in this movie at
She was
all.
in
Everybody's
Elf as
just
well as a secretary in that, and
yeah,
I actually quite like her in that. And she's only in it for a few seconds, but as you say, she hams it up to the max. And
yeah,
she's
she
wasted in
does.
this.
Oh, totally. I think she stands out as somebody who's actually trying to make something funny, basically, with what she's giving. But the birthing class, just the first one, they they go into farting humor, and I started thinking, ironically, of the fatties from Tropic Thunder, like Jack Black's fake movie at the start, the trailer,
Exactly what I was
where
thinking.
it's ironically, it's super ironically done, and it's very funny because Jack Black is just totally taking the out of these types of comedies. But this is done seriously as to get a
Yeah,
joke. It's like, okay, it's normal to fart in class, and then G goes, "Oh, really?" Then he farts, and some other people fart, and great, beautiful. Anyway, I don't want to think about it because it really made me
it makes
angry.
you sad, doesn't it?
It's terrible. So then the birthing happens. Like this is in within the span of 5 minutes of movie. It goes from I'm pregnant to birthing classes to birthing, and of course they play Salt and Pepper's "Push It" as the women are giving birth, and
Pushing it.
so that's
Yeah.
supposed to be humorous. Yeah, they're pushing it. So you know, fast forward again 6 months later, I think is the time jump, and they're all basically they don't know what they're doing. Ha ha ha
Yeah. And
ha.
And that's the premise for the movie, really. And that's all there is to it.
I
Like
wrote, yeah, I wrote
there's no
here.
depth here. Like it's just
No, I wrote here that they're left alone, stupid, crying, feeding, burping, changing, bathing, and that's the whole. They went through the ABCs of like Three Men and a Baby did, a lot better.
oh yeah.
The next sort of thing is they have different relationships with their girlfriends. Basically, Lonnie's girlfriend is portrayed as a trashy woman, and her mother is double
Rolanda.
trashy, Rolanda. Uh, G's girlfriend is portrayed the best. She's a hard worker. She works in the store that he works in. Once
Weirdly,
again, let
I
me just let me point out first before
was
I
the
choke on my
stereotypes.
own
Yeah.
rage here. This whole the first time we meet G's family, they focus on the word licorice as an Asian says it as the major point of humor in the first scene. From that scene onwards, you know what type of movie you're dealing with. Horrendously crafted humor pointing at very, very obvious racial stereotypes. It was
Yeah.
pretty
They
trashy,
they
to be
went
honest with you.
low early and stayed there.
Yeah, stayed there. That's what the Dom's girlfriend is portrayed as having a girlfriend then, which is Cheryl Dunn. She's a lesbian director. She's very proud of the fact she was the first black lesbian director of a movie. That's in her Wikipedia page. But nothing is done to put the
It's a
lesbian
very light
relationship on a
touch,
platform
actually.
here.
It's very light.
Very light touch.
It
Yeah.
doesn't go into it at all, which is an
No.
absolute shame because that would have been kind of interesting. But they don't go there.
Yeah. And at some point, Dom he finds out they're with each other, and the next scene, he's going around in a suit and tie with a bouquet of flowers and a teddy bear, and we don't know. We're led to believe that he's going to try and win his ex girlfriend back or something. And he throws them on the ground and walks away. He's so disappointed.
Yeah, they would have been better off leaving that scene out altogether.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's all girlfriends. They're not working out with them, apart from G's girlfriend. Lonnie tries to
No,
get with Brandy.
G's
What?
girlfriend has a bit of a wobble with him when
Oh
No
yeah,
Good,
that's later
played
in the
by Method
movie, though.
Man,
Yes.
does a slight robbery to get
Yeah.
some
Just
baby products.
yeah, that's another low point of the movie. At the same time, I'll go back to No Good in a second. Brandy tries to. This is another terrible part of the movie, and you've mentioned it slightly before. Brandy meets Lonnie, who's just this lovely lady with a daughter in the birthing in the mother's class, or whatever, and the two friends decide to be a pimp, and you have to dress up like this and treat her like crap, basically. So he goes on a date with her, and she walks out because he throws drink on her crotch and says, "Get out of those clothes, baby." And
Yeah, like a
that's the
pimp
joke.
version of Cyrano de Bergerac with it's just it doesn't work. It's not funny. He's kind of abusive
No,
towards her, and
it's
that's
okay.
supposed to be the funny bit.
It's abusive. Yeah, it's not even that. Yeah, it's played quite straight. It's played. It comes across as serious because it's not funny in
Yeah,
the way it's scripted. So anyway, after all of that, you're right. Method Man comes in through the window, literally, no good, and
yeah, yeah.
he robs a baby store of all this baby goods when G goes out to get his wallet, and this is supposed to be funny too. While he's asking he's holding it up, and all these people are giving him advice on what to rob, and like it could have been funny actually if the right people were involved and if there's a right script. But I kind of find the premise behind the people you're holding up giving you advice on what to rob for your baby. Basically, I thought that
Weirdly,
should
I
have been
agree
funny.
with you there. I think it was 5 degrees off being funny.
Mm,
It was nearly there. It went too far, perhaps. Um, I get what they were trying to do with the joke. Nearly
yeah,
hit, but doesn't. I kind of like
yeah.
weirdly. I like Method Man in this, strangely, but not because he's a good
He's
actor.
something.
He's something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's something. Yeah. Anyway, there's only a couple of other things I want to mention about the plot. The G's girlfriend's family dinner. was another opportunity to make a fart joke, and this time by an older Asian lady who happens to say, who just lets rip basically during the dinner, and then she proceeds. It lingers on her, the camera, for longer than it should, and she's like going, "Oh, that was a wet one."
Yeah.
That moment of silence there was for humor.
That's where the laughing happens,
It
right?
was just outrageous. Anyway, um, they have another. They have another. This is the turning point of the movie where everything just goes amazingly well for the characters. Kind of. They have a party again, and the three babies escape, and they don't really escape. They just go outside to a sofa that's on the balcony. Then the next day they'll go, okay, we have to change, man. We're not men, and they go, I'm in, I'm in, I'm in. And then there's a montage of being nice. Lonnie dresses up as a mascot, and that somehow gets that Brandy
That was
lady to like him
that to
again.
me is the stupidest scene in the entire movie. That's not how you win
Yeah,
somebody's affections, dressing as a mascot. By the way, I'm dressed as a mascot. Sorry for abusing you.
yeah.
That's not how it works.
And this was the
Oh, I'm
second
going
time he
crazy.
tried to get her back.
Yeah.
He tried to get her back before this, and she didn't have nothing to do with it. But dress up as a lobster, all good.
No, it was a pig. That's how it worked.
G. Oh, pig. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had lots of pig-related jokes that made her laugh.
Oh, they were all fucking
G has his montage of boxing, being a better boxer, and then connecting with his girlfriend's dad in the back alley, smoking dope, basically.
weirdly.
The
I kind of
uh,
like that scene. It was kind of half believable if they either hammed it up a bit more or hammed it down a bit more. Um,
mm,
but you know,
then
it's a good scene in
yeah,
this movie, but it's still poop.
yeah. Um, Dom, the producer, he has this running theme through the movie of the brothers Styles, who are two white guys who rap badly, and for some reason they fire him when they get with this big producer. So that's his montage of changing his life, and he finds out at this point in time that his ex girlfriend is a lesbian, and he gets over it, and that's fine. Then basically Uncle Virgil, played by John Amos,
It
sits
was
down in
awesome.
front of them and just basically tells them, "Yeah, he's great," and he basically just tells them what to do, and that's the end. And everybody has a great time. Then they all change their lives. There's a monologue at the end. Oh no, wait, the worst scene of the movie. Anyway, they change. They get all good. They go in the right direction. Everybody ends up in a different nice place. But I think yeah, one of the most horrendous scenes in the movie is the baby scene where Brandy and Lonnie are having dinner, and for some reason Lonnie starts hallucinating, and the two babies start talking to him with quite inappropriate things, and their mouths are moving, and it's just eerie and creepy, and comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's no need for it. It's not explained why he's hallucinating because he's had a
No,
couple of drinks of wine. Because I've drank wine, it's never done that to me yet. It put
it's
me
so
off it, to be
weird.
honest. Yeah, it made no
Yeah,
sense. It didn't need to be there.
no, it was strange. Anyway, the end of the movie is they all have better lives and they're all doing better things, and I kind of forget what they end up doing apart from Lonnie inventing a lowrider bed for kids.
Yeah, yeah. I think G marries
Yes,
the girlfriend, and
Shishi.
Shishi. That's it. Sorry, yeah, and that's it. But that's pretty much the end of it. They all get rich.
Yeah,
Yay!
I can't
Oh,
remember what
and
happened to Dom, the
Mini
producer.
Tupac
He
get
did
the
something.
Mini Tupac.
Oh
That's what he did.
yes, that's it.
That was
Oh
not great.
yeah, that was sad. Yeah,
Yeah, so like
Mini
it's like an
Tupac is
8-year-old kid rapping.
yeah, it's
Well, while he
I
was
think he
talented enough in his own right, it was just yeah.
no, not good. All right, so listen, I gave the plot 0.5 out of 5. What did you give it?
Wow. Oh, okay, I give it a full 1.
Yeah, well done. That's fine. That's okay. All right, so moving on to acting. The acting was shockingly bad in this movie. What do you think?
I want a 0.5.
0.5. Yeah, I point 0.25 for acting, but I want
Whoa.
to talk about a few things. So Eddie Griffin, he's he's best known for his stand-up. I think he was the worst. He just didn't know what he was doing in this movie. He didn't
Well,
know what his character
weirdly,
was up to.
it's not his first movie. He's done a few things before. Like he did Undercover
No,
Brother.
yeah,
Again, shocking movie,
oh
but
yeah.
he's had a few movies. So
Well,
at some point you have to learn your trade.
when I was looking through his list of movies, I implore you and listeners to look up on YouTube a movie called Irish Jam from 2006 with Eddie Griffin. It's
Oh, I missed
a
that.
it's one of those fake Irish movies where nobody is Irish in it, but Anna Friel is in it. Strangely enough,
Huh.
he goes as
That's
a obviously an American dude to Ireland, and he saves a producer or saves a village from a dodgy landlord or something. Anyway, the trailer will tell it all for you. Anthony Anderson was probably had the most screen time in the movie. He's done a lot of work in Law and Order. Still
Hmm.
didn't really come across that well in this. Michael Imperioli, very good in season 2 of White Lotus. I really enjoyed his character in that. But the problem with him in this movie was he played it entirely straight. He did not
Yeah.
do anything humorous. Any lines that he had for humor was delivered in a straight faced
Flat, very
fashion. So I think
flat. Yeah.
very flat and very serious. I think
I haven't seen
um,
White Lotus. Like, does he come across as comedic in that, or
no, it's a very dramatic role, and I think that suits him better.
because he was great in Sopranos as well. He's fantastic in Sopranos.
Yeah, I think he's obviously better suited to better things.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Bai Ling, who played Shishi, probably was the worst, and I mean don't mean no disrespect to her. I just maybe she was
In
really didn't know how
in
to
her
deliver her
defense,
lines at all.
what she'd been given as a script is probably hard to get anything good out of. Now, I'm not saying she's a good actress, but like the fact that nobody acted well in this, you know,
Yeah,
you're not going to shine in this movie. You can't.
no. The interesting thing is there is a Star Wars connection there between uh, Bai Ling and Amy Sedaris. Bai Ling actually played a senator in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Senator Bana Bream, but her scene was cut. So imagine what her role, her career could be if that scene wasn't cut.
She would have got 3
Um,
seconds of a mediocre Star Wars movie.
uh, yeah, No Good was played by Method Man, as you said. Yeah, he was different. I think he added a bit of something to the cast.
Not that
Uh,
it doesn't
Uncle,
change the movie in any respect, but
no,
yeah,
no. Uncle Virgil, obviously played by John Amos, probably didn't get enough screen time either, but obviously we know him from Coming to America and West Wing.
Die
Obviously,
Hard
a
2,
face
baby.
that yeah, he knows his face when you see it. He's one of those actors. So yeah, acting 0.25. What did you give it? 0.5.
0.5. Yep.
Yeah. So that is that for acting. The soundtrack, I'm really not going to talk about it a lot. It didn't find any, Push It was the only thing that.
There
Oh,
was a
by the way, Little
Run DMC
Tupac.
song in there as well, but yeah,
Yeah,
and
Run
Little
DMC was in
Tupac,
there.
yeah.
Nothing else. Little Tupac actually is played by the actor who played Tracy Jr. in 30 Rock as well.
Oh,
Just thought I'd throw that out there. Yeah. Uh, one, yeah, like so. Yeah, I looked up the soundtrack, and pretty much it's interesting. This dude called Rodney Jenkins wrote a lot of the songs that are included in this soundtrack, and he's wrote actually quite a well, maybe 4 songs that you might not have heard. You might have heard of. "It's Not Right, But It's Okay" by Whitney Houston. He wrote that with a bunch of other people. "If You Had My Love" by Jennifer Lopez. He co-wrote that. "Say My Name" by what was that, TLC, I think? Can't
yep.
remember. And then for a UK connection, he co-wrote "Holler" by the Spice Girls. So he's done he's done something, but he didn't do anything in this soundtrack, that's for sure. One thing that stuck out to
Mm.
me was when the babies were escaping, this sort of escape music came out of nowhere that totally felt out of place. It felt like if this was a movie about babies, then the music would have made sense. But this sort of prancy dancy music came up when the babies were escaping and just felt so wrong and so stupidly put in.
Yes, it like a lot of things in this movie, it didn't fit.
No. So I gave this soundtrack 0.25 as well. What did you give it?
I give it a 1 just because I like salt and pepper.
Push it real good. All right. So production, not going to have much to say about this as well, but you know they had some things. They tried to make things work. The animation at the start, obviously, you know, they tried to make an interesting introduction. There was some sort of there was a triple montage screen when the three characters were going, "I'm a daddy," and they all said it at the same time, and it just looked terrible, and you couldn't hear anything that they were saying, and they obviously tried to do something different there with the production, but obviously didn't work. Then again, you've got the talking babies thing that again they tried to do something different, but it totally didn't work. It felt out of place and made no sense whatsoever. I don't see any sort of.
I don't think we're going to give them points for trying here.
No. Doesn't make any sense. Like again, I'm down at the 0.25s for that one.
I'm substantially more generous than you. I went with a 0.5.
Was there anything that you wanted to mention about Method Man?
Oh, of course, Mr. Method Man. Yeah, there's one interesting fact. Mr. Method Man being a member of the Wu-Tang Clan, which is, by the way, one of Bob Dylan's favorite bands, which is a weird fact. See,
Weird and late.
Recently. Yeah.
Great.
Just glue that in with the claps.
I think. Yeah. All right. So I think that's it for My Baby's Daddy. And I really would never want to see this movie again. And I don't recommend it to anybody ever. That's as much as I can say.
Yeah, we've watched it, so you don't have to.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for that. So here we go. I'm going to roll the dice again for another random movie. And I'm just hoping that we don't get up to high numbers. If we do, I will change the app we use for the next episode. But we're not cooking the books here. It's all randomness. So we get what we're giving and we are suffering for your entertainment. So I'm rolling the dice. So here we go. Okay, that's good news. 2472.
Oh.
That's pretty good, right?
That's excellent.
That's quite nice. Yeah, so let's have a look-see here. I will put that into the magic database and see what we come up with here. All right. And these movies are all in the high 70s, so that's going to be good, right?
Probably.
Okay, we're going quite early here. It's from December 10th, 1967. It's PG rated, and it's called Bedazzled.
That sounds familiar.
Oh, it's a Dudley Moore and Peter Cook movie. That should be good, right? Dudley Moore, Peter Cook. Peter and Dudley and Peter. A hapless loser sells his soul.
Yeah.
A hapless loser sells his soul to the devil in exchange for 7 wishes.
Fraser.
Oh, but has trouble winning over the girl of his dreams. Okay, so it's got. Well, they're bastions of UK humor. Those guys. It should be pretty. Raquel Welch is in it. Yeah.
I wonder how well the comedy has aged, though.
That'll be interesting to see. So that'll be good. We're going back to the 60s for that one. That's good. That's the magic of the randomness there. And that was episode 7 of 15K plus random movie reviews. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.
Goodbye.